Chris, you're doing it all wrong. Your range tests are completely unrealistic and worthless. Your long trip tests have no value at all and no bearing on the real world. These are comments I sometimes get on my videos here on the channel, and for the most part, I just laugh. It's funny to me that some people are so disconnected from reality that they think a test done in the real world, on real worlds, under real conditions, with a real person has no value at all, like zero value. In my opinion, and I think a lot of you would agree, that a test is better than a non-test. Some information is always better than no information. And a lot of information, though it may not be perfect, is very useful in the real world. So I thought in today's video, I would address some of the comments I get here on the channel sometimes. Because, yeah, I just want to put some of these arguments to bed, because many of them are stupid, but I do understand that people think this way. But it really just, surprises me and boggles my mind that people have these opinions that a test can be completely worthless and have no value at all. That really surprises me. But before we jump into some of the comments, we have to give away 2 Zaptec GO home chargers for the giveaway now on September 15th, which was yesterday or the day before, depending on what day this video is going out. So the first lucky winner is Vegard Lambertsen 555. Congratulations. So what you have to do is you have to comment on your comment your email address. So you commented on my XC90 review, the one I did last week in Gothenburg, the new facelifted XC90. You commented, I want to win a Zaptec GO home charger, and you have to comment your email address there, and I'll get in contact with you. And then the second lucky winner commented on my Audi A6 e-tron versus Polestar 4 video. So again, you have to comment on that video, and the lucky winner is called NickPen2921. Congratulations, you have also won a Zaptec GO home charger. Comment your email address on that comment and I will contact you. Last week, I did the first standardized range test of the Polestar 4 long-range single motor here on the channel. And by standardized, I mean testing the car on the same stretch of road with the same testing procedure I do with every electric car here on the channel. So I drive the same stretch of road, I time them from the same place to the same place, I drive the same speed, and I am the driver. I also try to choose a day with the least amount of traffic, so traffic isn't a contributing factor for the average speed. And I also try to choose the day during my test week with the best conditions possible. And the reason all of this is the way it is so the conditions is as similar as possible to other electric cars, so they can be compared across the board. It's not going to be perfect, and of course you have to take into consideration the conditions, because that is a big factor for range with an electric car, and that means a test done in winter cannot be compared to a test done in summer. A test done in rainy weather can be compared to a test done with dry roads, but you have to compare them with a pinch of salt, because that rainy weather, there's going to be higher rolling resistance and also higher aerodynamic resistance pushing the car through the air because of the humidity when it is raining. The air thickness, the density of the air is going to be higher than when it is nice weather. So I try to, do these tests as similar conditions as possible, but I can't control the weather. And because I live in Norway, we have different conditions in summer, we have different conditions in winter, and that's just the way it is. So the day I did the range test of the Polestar 4, the conditions were pretty terrible. I mean, the temperature was okay for being mid-September or early September, but the weather was really bad. I mean, we had stormy weather, we had pretty severe winds, we had a lot of rain. And not only is that bad for, the aerodynamic resistance, but there was a lot of water in the road. And I have to say, the conditions that day were pretty extreme, especially for being this time of the year. And you know, I do this all year round, and not often do I encounter like days like these. Of course, they do happen throughout the year, but it's not the norm. So I was thinking to myself, you know, during that test and also at the end, that I probably have to redo this test under better conditions, because the results today are not going to be representative for most of the time people are driving this car, either around the world or in Europe, even in Nordics, and even here in Norway. These are not normal conditions. So at the end of the video, I said I'm probably going to do this test again. I mean, we have the results now, and they are valuable because we know how this car will perform under these conditions, but I think doing it under better conditions is going to be more representative for more people around the world, because I do have a global audience. Like, about half of my audience is from Europe and the other half is from North America, and then we have a fraction from Asia and Africa. But like, almost all of you guys are from either Europe, across the whole of Europe, and North America, the USA and Canada. That's like the main audience here on the channel. So I said at the end of the video, I'm probably going to do that range test again, and I did do that again, and I published that video the other day. And the conditions I did that test were much better, like between 18 and 20 degrees Celsius, dry roads, not a lot of wind, and also cloudy skies. And in my opinion, that's probably the most ideal conditions for an electric car to get the most range, because the battery temperature, the chemistry in the battery is going to be at an optimal temperature at around, you know, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. Also, dry roads is good, no wind is very good. And also, of course, having cloudy skies means you're not going to be running the HVAC system, the AC, any hard. So, of course, we got a lot better results. And I thought, yeah, people are going to be happy, because now we have the results for bad weather and we have the results for good weather. I mean, we have two different data points. What is there to complain about? Well, I got this comment, and that's why I wanted to make this video. What is the point of doing a range test in conditions we almost never drive in, especially in Norway? This is not real. The first test you did, that is a real range test. Or do you mean that Polestar 4 is a car only for driving in good condition? I mean, that last sentence, or do you mean Polestar 4 is a car for only driving in good condition? I mean, how do you even infer that? Like I said, we had better results. We got to do this test again with better conditions. I mean, we had bad conditions. We have to do the test again with good conditions. And we have both data points, but still you're complaining. This really baffles me. Like, I could do this test 100 times and you're like, why did you do this test when it was like 23 degrees Celsius and it was raining? That's not realistic. Or I could do the test as like 5 degrees Celsius and it's sunny. Why did you do the test that day? I mean, the more tests I do and others do, the more data we have. But what really triggers me and baffles me about this comment is the first sentence. What is the point of doing a range test in conditions we almost never drive in, especially in Norway? This is not real. And on the surface, you may be thinking, especially if you live in Norway, like, yeah, that's a sound point to make. Like, why would you do it under those conditions? Because that's not normal conditions. But if you look at weather data, and I'm a weather nerd, in Eastern Norway, we have more than 90 days per year above 20 degrees Celsius. So just 3 months out of the year, on average, the temperatures are above 20 degrees Celsius. So that means a quarter of the year, we're going to have temperatures warmer than this. About 150 days of the year here in Eastern Norway, we have temperatures above 15 degrees Celsius. That's 5 months of the year. That's almost half of the time in Eastern Norway, the temperature is above 15 degrees Celsius. And then you may be thinking, but Chris, okay, that's just temperature. What about the weather? Well, in Eastern Norway, we have about 80 days of rain per year. 80 days of rain. So, I mean, the majority of the time, we don't have rainy weather. Majority of the time, it's not stormy outside. And almost half of the year, the temperature is above 15 degrees Celsius. So I would argue, like, a lot of the time, this is actually the type of weather we have in Norway, especially in summer. Like, it doesn't get above 25 degrees, often. It does happen, but, that's not the norm. And above 30 degrees Celsius is not the norm, but we do have conditions like that. But that's just Norway. A lot of my viewers are from Sweden, are from Denmark, are from Germany, the Netherlands. I have a lot of viewers from the United States and also Canada. So yeah, sure. I mean, if you live in northern Norway or some place in Norway where this isn't, the conditions you have, sure. But do you live in such a small bubble that you don't realize that you're not the only person watching this video, that this has to appeal to, a vast range of people who live across the world? I mean, it just baffles me, like, if people are watching a video and it doesn't fit their use case, it's like, it's totally useless. There's nobody else than me who exists in the world, and I don't understand why you, Chris, who have like 4, 5, 6, and sometimes even 700,000 viewers from across the world, you're not making your video specifically for me. Like, it's such a dumb argument, and it just shows how, stuck in their own bubble people are, that they don't understand that there are a lot of other people in the world watching these videos. So it just baffles me. So I just had to get that out. I mean, yeah. I mean, not a real range test. Like, it's crazy. So we argue a little bit back and forth in the comment section of this video. You can go read the comments. He talks about, WLTP being done under ideal conditions, and I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, because WLTP isn't a real test. It's done on a rolling road in a lab. So me going out in the real world, and friends of mine, we have Kyle from Out of Spec Reviews, we have Chris from Battery Life, we have Tesla Björn. All of these other YouTubers who do these tests are the only people, including me, doing these tests in the real world. So I think it's funny criticizing us that we're doing it wrong, because he says that we're all doing it wrong. And it really baffles me, people who go on YouTube and they start, attacking the creator and like, we're doing it wrong, we're idiots. I'm like, why are you even watching the videos if you don't think there's any value here? If you think we're doing it wrong, then go out and do it yourself. I mean, you're free to go out and do this yourself. So I just think that's funny, that's interesting. But of course, there is improvements to be made. I've never ever said that my tests are perfect, and I always say, I'm always transparent. I'm like, under these conditions, this is the speed. That's why I have, the big chart with all the data points. We have the tires, we have the wind speed, we have the temperature, we have the weather, we have the car, we have the date. I mean, you have all the data to make it as transparent as possible. There's nothing remotely misleading. And that's why I always say, under these conditions, we're gonna get this range, because that's true. The only thing I'm doing is I'm testing a car, and then I'm reporting. There's no bias here at all. It's as objective as it can get. But of course, there is, improvements to be made. If to make, the ideal chart, and the ideal way to do this was if I could test more cars at the same time. But I'm just one person. I have my following, this is my job. I don't have any other income. So I'm really restricted in what I'm able to do. So if more people comment, if more people subscribe, if more people support the channel, that means I'm going to be able to make more money, and I can get more help to do more of these tests. But until then, now, this is the best I can do. So, I mean, take it as it is, or go somewhere else or do it yourself, right? So I'm just doing my best. But of course, what I'm hoping for is that I can, find a way to correct the range test. And what I mean about that is, if I could do a test, say 4 times a year with, say, 5 or 10 different cars. If we could do this at the same time, we could get data points for 4 different types of weather, and then we could infer. So say we do a test with -5 degrees Celsius, we do one at +5, +15, and +25. So we have 4 data points, right? And then we can see the difference between those temperatures and that weather, right? So we can see if it's a linear curve, maybe the curve, tips up or tips down. Whatever the curve is, we can do that with more and more cars, and then the more data we get, the more we can simulate, and then we can infer to other cars. It's never going to be 100% accurate, and maybe I can do that with that data I have already, but I'm not sure how to do it. You know, the last thing I want to go out and is I want to, you know, infer and start claiming things that may not be true. Because the way I do it now, I'm doing the test. This is the claim because this is the result I got. You know, whenever I start, you know, making other claims, that's where, you know, you're starting to dance a fine line between reality and fiction. But I still think I can do it and be transparent about it. Like, this is just a simulation. So let me know if you know how to do that. If you could help me with the math, or if there's like an algorithm we could use to, you know, infer the data, because I've tested almost 100 cars now, and multiple cars I've tested multiple times. So I still think we can, you know, do something with that data. That's what I wanted to do. And, you know, and for that, this would be good, doing a test in good and bad weather. So like either way, it's a win-win, because we're getting smarter and smarter, we're gathering more data, and we're being able to, you know, see the cars as they are more accurately. So guys, let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section down below. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.